Life is a complicated maze of deception and obstacles that do not end. In this video, I want to talk about how to navigate life's obstacles as you get to start your home care business. Now, what do I mean by a complicated maze of deception and obstacles? Well, in life, there are people that control everything, and you and me are like rats in a lab. This lab was already created before we even got here. And they're puppet masters, right? Who are these puppet masters, you might ask? Well, these are people who are here before us. So it could be our parents, our elders, the government, society in general. Everything around you, all these rules that govern how you live right now were designed by somebody that is no smarter than me and you. So, when they design these rules, they design them to favor them. I know, stick with me on this point. It's going to sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. I'm trying to get to a point. So, where the deception comes is when all of these people around you, your friends, family members, the government, society, tries to dictate or tell you how you should live your life. And in that case, if you listen to every single piece of information that you're fed by these entities, you will face obstacles. Your job in this world is to navigate these obstacles and find the truth. The reason why you're navigating these obstacles is so you can find two things. The first thing you're looking for is companionship, so you can reproduce. I'm speaking for the majority now. I know there's a small minority that doesn't care about reproducing or companionship. That's a small minority. But for the vast majority of us, we are seeking companionship, people that love us, people we can love back, and hopefully we can build these relationships, build families through reproduction. Number two, we are seeking resources to become more secure, which is the same as security. Resources are things like money, so we can live in better neighborhoods, send our kids to good schools, buy cool things, clothes, cars, jewelry. What I come to realize in my 4 decades of life is we are no different from each other. A lot of people that live in the West, especially those that don't travel, they don't realize that there are people over here that also share similar dreams and aspirations to them. We all want the same things. We all want similar things. Our dreams could be bigger, smaller. There are different variations of these dreams. But for the most part, we all aspire to achieve the same things. The thing that we forget to do, especially once we've gotten to a certain level, we forget to be grateful. When we forget to be grateful, we tend to relax and we don't take risks anymore. When you don't take risks, you're not able to deal with any additional obstacles that are waiting for you in this maze that we call life. When you stop taking risks, it means that you have to rely on others, right? So you might have to rely on a friend, family member, the government, to tell you what's available, what else is out there. And that could be a very dangerous position to be in, because I don't know if you ever played this game as a kid. It's called the game of telephone, where there'll be a line of kids and they have to pass a verbal message from one end to the other. So by the time a message comes from this end to this end, it's completely different, because the way people interpret information and pass on information is completely different. You never want to be on the wrong end of that information. And the way to navigate that obstacle and not get the wrong information is to be in the beginning stages of that information. The beginning stages of that information requires you to take risk. That risk could be starting that business you've always wanted to start, taking that trip you've always wanted to take. When you are a risk taker, it means that nobody can tell you anything, because you have first-hand information. The point I'm trying to make here is that as we leave 2023, getting into 2024, what are you willing to do in order for you to be in the beginning stages of acquiring knowledge and the truth, so that you are not deceived in this maze that we call life? Because deception happens everywhere, and your job is to decipher the truth. Because if you don't do that, your life is going to be very difficult. These are some of the lessons that I'm learning as I continue to take risk. As many of you know, I recently moved to Africa, set up a base here, and I met with non-stop obstacles. In a way, I kind of like it, and I'm still grateful. I do not regret the decision I made. Even before I got here, a lot of people attempted to deceive me. They tell me that this is not possible. What do you mean you're going to set up a base in Africa and go anywhere in the world and work anywhere in the world? What do you mean you can do this? That's not possible, Mufado, they said. I said, I beg to differ. I want to take the risk and find out for myself. And sure enough, it works. Additional obstacles that I face are things like limited access to electricity, limited access to water. Let me tell you what happens in developing worlds. The cost of energy is really high, and access to clean water, running water, is also limited. So only the few privileged can get access to these resources. So every Tuesday and Thursdays, there's what they call load shedding. Load shedding is where they do the cut off power, electricity, for a specific amount of time, let's say 3 hours or 6 hours. So you have to plan ahead and charge up all your gadgets to ensure that you are able to communicate or work in times where there's no power. Same thing with water. You have to collect rainwater in some parts. And I live in a pretty good neighborhood, right? In one of the best neighborhoods in town. And I still have to do these things. I have to collect rainwater sometimes when there's limited access to water. So it requires me to learn new ways of survival. New ways of survival means I have to plan ahead. Even things like access to food. There are limited varieties of foods that I have access to. So the snacks that I like are not easily accessible. I have to plan ahead. So when I go to the grocery store, sometimes I have to shop for an entire month, versus what I used to do, which is go to Kroger or shop from the South or Publix. I used to go to Kroger or Publix every 2 days. Access was easy for me. These are the obstacles that I'm facing right now. And what I love about these obstacles is that I'm learning new skills. Every single obstacle allows for you to acquire a new skill. My question to you is, are you going to put yourself in a position to acquire new skills for 2024 that will enable you to survive the obstacles of this recession that's coming in 2024? It could be you need to learn to live on less. We just saw a bunch of layoffs in the tech industry in December, and these layoffs are going to continue into January. This happens every year like clockwork. If you're not in tech, there are also layoffs in other industries. Thankfully, if you're in the healthcare industry, it's recession proof. So you needn't worry about that. You don't have to worry about it. The only skills you need to learn are tech skills to be a little more savvy so that you can command a higher salary. You also need to acquire skills that allow for you to be able to use technology to help you make more money, or ask your current employer for a raise. Are you willing to do that for 2024? The other thing you need to understand is that 2024 requires you to position yourself in what is called death ground. It's an ancient concept. Back in the Greek islands, there were sort of feuding empires. So one empire didn't get along with the other. There was a king here, there was a king there. And then one king decided to declare war on the other king. And then the king that declared war knew he was going to win because he was used to taking chances and taking risks, and he knew how to win battles. And the way he won was deploying what is called death ground. And the way he did it was he would take his army, get on a ship, sail that ship to the opponent's island, dock the ships on the beach, ordered all his men to get off the ships and the boats, and he ordered all his men to line up on the beach. And then he ordered the generals to burn all the ships while the soldiers were watching. He did this because he didn't want to give his soldiers a plan B. He knew that if his soldiers knew that they had a way out by just running back to the ship when things were tough in battle, then these guys wouldn't fight to win the war. These soldiers, they were well trained, they ended up winning the battle because they knew they didn't have a plan B to run back to the ship and go back home. The only way out of that island that they were trying to conquer was victory, by any means necessary. In 2024, as we leave 2023 behind, what are you willing to do to attain that victory in 2024? Are you willing to do death ground, to deploy death ground? Now I'm saying you have to calculate this risk. Don't just quit your job and burn the ship before you've lined up a few things to ensure that you win that battle. Now, do you have the guts to do that? Death ground. Because I assure you, if you don't do that, you'll be stuck in this maze that we call life, and constant deception after deception and obstacle after obstacle are going to be waiting for you. But that's the reality. I hope you got some value from this video. If you're ready to take on 2024, take on this new challenge of starting a home care business, and if you still have any questions, give me a call. I'll put a link to my calendar in the description of this video, and I've also put a link to my course that you can learn how to market your agency if you already got one started already. And if you're still in the beginning stages, let's talk as well. I can help you with the application process for your license. See you in the next video.